There is a reason a Japanese 15-year-old still eats dinner at the table with his parents, and it has nothing to do with obedience. Most parents think the way to reach a teenager is to sit them down and ask what is wrong, and that is the exact move that makes them close the door. What if all 7 of the things that actually work have one thing in common, which is that not one of them involves talking about the problem at all? There is a plate sitting on the floor of a hallway in Oregon right now. Rice, a piece of salmon, some cucumber. It has been there 90 minutes. It is cold. The door it sits outside has been closed since 4 in the afternoon. Under it there is a thin blue line of screen light, and that light will still be there at 1 in the morning. Behind the door is a 15-year-old girl who this time last year told her mother everything. Now she says 4 words. I am fine. Leave me alone. That is 5 words. She would tell you it is 4. You have stood in that hallway. You know the particular quiet of a house where somebody you love is 30 feet away and completely gone. My name is Kenji Mori. I am 64. I was born in Toyama on the cold side of Japan. For 31 years, I was a yomuin, a school caretaker at a middle school. I swept those halls. I unlocked the gate at 6 in the morning and locked it at 7 at night. And I watched 12 and 13 and 14-year-old children come through it twice a day. Thousands of them. I raised 2 of my own. 6 months of the year, I live in my daughter Aiko's house in Oregon. And I cook the rice. And I failed at this. Badly, with my own son. Takumi was 15. He went quiet in October. Not angry, not rude, quiet. And I did the thing every book said. I sat him down at the kitchen table, across from him, eye to eye. I asked him what was wrong. And I did that almost every night for a month. And he got quieter every time. And then he stopped coming to the table at all. 2 years of a closed door. And the whole time I thought I was reaching for him. I was not reaching for him. I was interviewing him. There is a difference, and I did not know it. Quick word before I go further. The old methods my family uses, there is more of it than fits in any one video. I gathered the whole of it into a book you can buy in our pinned comment below. The book is the long version. If you want it, it is there. I will not mention it again. What finally broke it was not a conversation. It was a bicycle chain. His bicycle chain came off in the rain in March, and I did not offer to fix it, and I did not ask him about his feelings. I said, hold this. And he crouched down in the carport next to me, shoulder to shoulder, both of us looking at the same greasy thing, and for 11 minutes, neither of us said anything at all. And then he said, Mr. Sakai moved me to the back of the class. And then he stopped, and I did not say anything. And about 20 seconds later, he said the real thing, which was that he had not had anybody to eat lunch with since September. 6 months. 6 months, I had been sitting across the table from that boy, asking the right question in the wrong position. Now here is the thing I learned in 31 years of pushing a broom down a middle school hallway, and it took me most of those years to see it. You can tell which children are in trouble, not from their grades, not from their faces, from whether anybody needs them. The child who has a job on the lunch duty roster, who has a little brother to walk home, who has a grandmother who cannot open the pickle jar, that child is generally all right, even when things are hard. The child that nothing in the world depends on. That child is the one I worried about. Every time. And you could see it at the gate, same 7 in the morning, 31 years. A boy who has to get his sister to her classroom before the bell walks fast and he walks straight. A boy who has nowhere he is expected, walks slow with his eyes down, and he times it so he comes in with a crowd, and he is not with the crowd. I could pick them out at 40 feet with a broom in my hand, and I was right more often than I wanted to be. So then you have to ask the question I had to ask myself. If families in my country do these things almost without thinking about them, why does Japan still lose so many of its young people? Because we do. I will not stand here and sell you a country. Japan has a serious problem with young people and their minds, and suicide is one of the leading causes of death for our young. And every person from my town knows a family it happened to. So why? Because Japan gets one half of this right, and the other half very badly wrong. And once you can see which half is which, the good half is something you can start using in your own kitchen tonight. Here is the split, and it is the whole video, so let me be plain about it. The Japanese house does something right. The Japanese school does something terrible. The school is exams and rank, and the fear of being a burden and a kind of shame that has no bottom to it. Do not copy any of that. Do not copy 1 inch of it. But the house, the ordinary Japanese house, is built around one idea that most Western homes lost about 40 years ago, and it is this. A young person is not a guest you are hosting until they leave. They are a working member of a small operation, and the operation does not run without them. That is it. That is the whole insight, and everything else in this video is just a way of doing it. Now, what do most people get wrong? They treat the dark mood as the problem. So they try to fix the mood, and the way they try to fix the mood is by talking about the mood. Sitting the child down, across a table, eye to eye, and saying, "I have noticed you seem down. Do you want to talk about it?" Think about where else in life you sit across a table from somebody and hold eye contact and ask them questions about themselves. A job interview, a police station, a doctor's office. You have built a small courtroom in your kitchen, and then you are surprised the witness will not talk. And the mood is usually not the problem anyway. In my experience, and I want to be careful here, most of the time, a teenager's darkness is not a thinking problem, it is a belonging problem. They have quietly concluded that nothing would be different if they were not there. And you cannot argue a person out of that. You cannot say the words that fix it. I tried for a month across a kitchen table. Words do not touch it. You can only make it untrue. Here is the sharp part, and then I will get to the 7 things. An hour with a professional costs what it costs, and I am not going to say a word against it, and I'm going to come back to that at the end, because it matters. But 20 minutes at a kitchen sink, both of you facing a window, is free. It happens 200 times a year instead of 40. And no professional on earth can do it for you. That is not their job. That is your job. It was always your job. And the word for what your job actually is, we have in Japanese and English does not have. The word is amai. A doctor named Takeo Doi wrote a whole book about it in 1971. And the closest English gets is something like being allowed to lean on somebody without being ashamed of it. Not weakness, not manipulation. A normal, healthy, expected leaning. In Japan, a 16-year-old boy can lay his head on his mother's lap, and nobody in the room thinks anything of it. In America, a 16-year-old boy learns around 11 that he is too old for that, and then he learns to want nothing. And wanting nothing is the loneliest skill a human being ever learns. English has no word for it. That missing word is most of the problem. So, 7 things. Not one of them is a conversation. The first is what we call yoko no kanke, the side-by-side relation, and it is the one that fixed my son. The rule is simple. Every hard thing gets discussed, shoulder to shoulder, never face to face. The car is the best room in your house for this. Then the kitchen sink. Then walking the dog. Then folding laundry on a bed. The trick, and this is the part I want you to rewind for, is that side-by-side means nobody is being examined. 2 people looking at the same third thing are allies. 2 people looking at each other are opponents. Your teenager cannot explain that to you, but their body knows it perfectly. 20 minutes at a sink, 2 dish brushes. If your kid is short, a $12 step stool. That is the whole equipment list. The second is amai, and doing it is easier than saying it. When your 15-year-old suddenly acts 9, wants the old blanket, wants you to sit on the end of the bed, wants a food they have not asked for in 6 years, that is not a step backward. That is a request, and it is the only way they know how to make it. The trick is that you say yes, and then you say absolutely nothing about it. You do not say, "You are a bit old for this." You do not smile in that way. You get the blanket, you sit on the bed, you leave. The third is otsukai, the errand. And in Japan, we start it young. There is a show that has been on our television since 1991 where a 3-year-old is sent to the shop alone with a note, and the world found it on Netflix a few years ago and could not believe it. But the point is not the shop, and the point is not 3 years old. The point is that the household needed something, and the child was the one who got it. For a teenager, this means one real job: not tidy your room. Your room is yours. Nobody else feels it. The trick is that it has to be a job that fails visibly if they do not do it. The dog does not eat. The rice is not made at 6. The bins are still full on Wednesday morning, and everybody sees it. A job that only you notice is not a job. It is a chore, and a chore builds nothing. The fourth we call living gakushu, living room study, and it is common enough in Japan now that furniture shops sell tables for it. The homework happens at the family table, in the middle of the noise, not alone behind a door. And the trick is the part everybody gets wrong. You have to be at that table too, doing your own work, your bills, your emails, your mending. Presence without supervision. You do not look over. You do not ask how it is going. You are just a second person who is also working, and a child who is stuck can lift their head and be in a room with someone instead of alone in a box with a screen. The fifth is osoji. In Japanese schools, the children clean the school. 15, 20 minutes a day, every day, floors and windows and toilets in their own building. I know exactly how it works because I was the caretaker. I did the roof and the boiler and the broken glass. They did the floors. And it is not about clean floors, it never was. It is that you do not get to live somewhere you do not take care of. So in your house, the trick is 2 rules. Never pay for it and never use it as punishment. The moment it is paid, it becomes a job you can quit. The moment it is punishment, it becomes a thing you did wrong, and you get down on the floor and do it beside them. The 6th is Hanze, which means reflection, and it replaces the lecture. The trick is a clock, 24 hours. You do not address anything serious in the heat of it, ever, not once. The next day, side by side, you ask one question: what will you do next time? And then, and this is the hard part for every parent alive, you stop talking. You do not add the second sentence. The second sentence is for you, not for them. The 7th is ma, which is the word for the pause, the gap, the space between things. And the trick is a count. When your child says something difficult, count to 10 in your head before you make any sound at all. My son told me about Mr. Sakai and the back of the class. That was the first sentence. The real one, the one about eating lunch alone since September, came 20 seconds later into a silence I had not filled. The first sentence is the test. The second sentence is the truth. If you answer the first one, you will never hear the second one. And I did not hear my son's second sentence for 2 years, because I was always ready with something helpful. Now let me zoom out, because I do not think this is really about mosquitoes in the yard, so to speak. I think it is bigger. A young person who is needed is a hard person to disappear. They eat with people, so you can see them eat. They are up at 6 because the rice is theirs, so you can see them sleep. They are in the room, so you can see their face. Everything you are actually worried about is easier to catch when the child is inside the working life of the house instead of parked at the edge of it. And none of that requires them to open up to you even once. And it works the other way too. The house gets easier. A boy who makes the rice at 6 is not a boy you are fighting with about the rice. You stop being the person who wants things from him, and you become the person who works next to him. And that is a completely different relationship to be in for 3 more years. My daughter Aiko told me last spring that the week she gave her eldest the dog and the bins, the arguing in that house dropped by half, and she had not been trying to fix the arguing at all. She was just short of hands. That is usually how it goes. You are not building character. You are short of hands, and you let them be the hands, and the character is what falls out of it. In my town, there was a saying about it. A child raised at the edge of the table becomes a guest in their own life. That is it. That is the whole thing. The table is not a piece of furniture, it is a question. And the question is there a chair here that stays empty when you are not in it? And now the plain part, and I want you to hear this one clearly, because I have seen what happens when a family waits. If your child has stopped eating, or stopped sleeping, or stopped everything, or has said something to you that put ice in your stomach, do not sit alone with that, and do not wait for a habit to fix it. Take them to a doctor. This week. Nothing in this video replaces that. And anyone who tells you a family tradition can substitute for real help is selling you something. Every town I have lived in 2 countries, has a family in it that waited. The 7 things are for the ordinary weather of a house, they are not for a storm. Know the difference and act fast when it is a storm. So here is what I want you to do tonight. And it is 1 thing, not 7. After dinner, do not ask how they are. Do not mention any of this. Hand them a dish towel. Stand at the sink, shoulder to shoulder, both of you looking out the window at the dark, and talk about nothing at all. The car, the dog, what the neighbor did to his fence. 20 minutes. And when they say something, count to 10 before you answer. Then come back and tell me in the comments how old your kid is and whether they said anything. And if they gave you a second sentence, tell me what it was. I read these, I read every one. Next time, I am going to tell you about the Genkan, which is the little sunken entryway inside every Japanese front door where you take off your shoes, and about the first 90 seconds after a child walks in it. There are 2 words we say in that doorway that most families outside Japan have no version of. And there is 1 thing my mother never once did in that entryway in 18 years. And I have come to believe that 1 thing she did not do mattered more than anything else in my childhood. Until then, stand next to them, not across from them, and leave the silence alone.